Welcome back to The Decision 2024, brought to you by Valuetainment.
And y'all should like this, man. All right, white boys, y'all should like this because there's a pretty white girl in it, so you should be entertained.
And VT Analytics. This is where we bring you the news and the numbers going into the very important U.S. presidential election. I'm Tom Ellsworth, the Biz Doc.
I'm Amy Dangerfield. Let's go ahead and dive into our top story this week, brought to you by VTnews.ai. This is an amazing news source backed by a powerful artificial intelligence engine created by Valuetainment. It's our top source when it comes to the news, and it should be yours too. So rolling into that top story, Trump returns to the scene 3 months from where he was nearly assassinated in Butler, Pennsylvania. Now, this marks an extremely historic rally. J.D. Vance was there. Elon Musk was there representing Dark MAGA. He gave a very, very powerful speech opening up the event. And of course, Trump, with his usual flair, opens up the speech by signaling to the graphic from 3 months ago when he was nearly assassinated and stating, as I was saying. It was an absolutely historic rally, galvanized even more support behind him. And of course, we're going to have to wait to see, how this impacts the polls. But speaking of the polls, let's go ahead and roll into the national polls brought to you by Rasmussen Reports. Now, we can see here that as of the 3rd of October, Trump is actually up ahead by 7 points. Now, this is the highest lead that Trump has taken since July 23rd. This was, of course, before Kamala became the presumptive candidate for the Democratic Party. Back then, it was Biden. And so this is really signaling and marking Trump taking a significant lead. When we take a look at Kamala's result, she's been fluctuating between 45 to 50. So her results have been mostly stagnant, whereas we can see Trump has remained on the incline, maybe having a couple of setbacks here and there, but for the most part, he is on a strong upwards trajectory nationally.
The states that matter are the battleground states. And let's look at 3 that will matter very much. Last week, we talked about Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, that if those go Trump, it'll be a very early night if they're called. So let's take a look at what the polls are saying in those key states. We have pulled a sample of polls that have come out. And if you take a look at Atlas Intel, September 20th to 25, 1,775 likely voters. That's a very large sample size, and it's showing +3. But if you look here, 2 of them are +1, Harris, and you have +3, +2. Our numbers that we're pulling together are showing 3.5 for Trump in Pennsylvania right now. And we find a lot of enthusiasm that is somewhat repressed. We're asking questions and getting enthusiasm results, such as what you saw in Butler, Pennsylvania, the size of the crowd, and also looking at the areas, looking at yards.
100K, they said, pulled up there. 100K, G. I was like, yo.
Looking at things, there is a lot of enthusiasm, but there's also a lot of voters that are concentrated in Philadelphia, which runs dark blue. Nonetheless, that's what Pennsylvania is looking like, and the rally is coming at a time where that 3 points that we see is moving toward 3.5, and who knows where it's going to go. There's 30 days to go, and a lot could happen, but Pennsylvania is looking increasingly like it's headed for Trump. So now let's go south to storm-ravaged North Carolina. And first, before you're talking about election, if you have the opportunity to do so and to contribute and to help with relief to North Carolina and North Georgia, where the people have been absolutely inundated with floods and water, and now the recovery is in order, please move your heart away from political arguments and move it toward the people of North Carolina and do what you can through reputable national organizations. As we look at the polls here in North Carolina, Washington Post ran a poll, very interesting, the left-leaning Washington Post, with 1,000 registered voters, not likely voters, and they came up +3 Trump. And you look at the date, 25th to 29th. Insider Advantage and Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac that had a very low ranking.
Hell nah, he ain't just say that. Oh, yeah, that is wild as hell, bro. You got to get the fuck up out of here.
In terms of their accuracy in the 2020 polls is showing +1. If there's any left lean in this Quinnipiac poll, that's probably Trump 3. North Carolina looks similar. However, will those voters in the storm-ravaged areas be able to vote? There was a lot of requests for mail-in ballots. Did they receive them? Can they get them back? So in a world where 20,000 votes can make a difference in the rural areas that might not be able to vote, that could spell trouble. Right now, all things held constant, North Carolina, we have at 2 for Trump and gently rising week over week. Let's step back and take a quick look at some of the stories. We pulled these from X and VTnews.ai. Over the weekend, Kamala Harris's team, or herself, were tweeting about Lebanon at the very moment that the nation was looking to FEMA and asking questions about was FEMA being effective getting relief supplies into North Carolina and North Georgia. Nonetheless, the headlines came out and it wasn't what the campaign wanted to see. So not particularly good coverage and not particularly good leadership in the eyes of many, including the typical
Damn, hold on. The Fed said that? You telling me, the Federal Reserve even said, look, they spent all their money on immigrants. We ain't got nothing for them.
That's crazy as hell.
So now we go a little bit further south to Georgia. And +5 from Quinnipiac from the 25th to the 29th with 942 likely voters. We then go Insider Advantage over a slightly narrower margin with 800 likely voters, and it was showing at a tie. But if you take a look at this, it's a tie or one for Harris, with the other polls coming through showing Trump not just 1 point, but these are decisive leads, especially when you consider that BSG and YouGov definitely have shown to have a slight left lean in their polling. So if that's the case, that means Georgia is looking increasingly like a Trump state. Again, we're 4 weeks from the election and a lot can happen.
So now we take a look at the path to 270. And as we have just shown you, Trump is showing a very strong lead in many of these states that are needed for Kamala Harris. So with Trump, we can see that his clearest path to 270 is, of course, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. As we just showed you, he has galvanized a lot of support in those areas. He is up in the polls. And just with those 3 states alone, he is securing what he needs, 270 electoral votes in order to win the presidency. Now, when it comes to Harris, really her only path to 270 involves Wisconsin, which we see as a toss-up right now. It could be leaning a little bit Harris, but we see it nearly as a deadlock. Then we have Michigan, which of course is leaning Harris, so she has that in her favor. But Arizona, that seems to be Republican territory, at least right now. We're going to be watching this state carefully as we progress closer to
Arizona is near the border, so if anybody's seeing this, I would say the disaster of the Biden and Harris administration, it would be Arizona.
Yeah.
So, and how they're
people in these border cities, these border states, even they're kind of seeing the pitfalls of the lack of policy, the lack of initiative at the border.
Bro, you ask anybody, you think, Arizona's like one of the most democratic states in the South. They were the one who legalized weed first down there in the South, like Southern. So we're just like, yeah, they do have, I would say, they really do lean more towards liberal. But what I hear from some friends out there is that it's more of like a moderate liberal. They're not like far left, California, far left, New York. And I guess, this administration just lost them completely.
Towards the election. So with 268 total, she needs to win all of these, plus one of these other states over here, or sacrifice maybe Arizona for one of the states here that have more electoral votes in total to get her over the line to 270. All in all, it's really not looking good for the Harris ticket right now.
However, a lot of things could happen in the next 4 weeks, and they usually do. But right now, the math seems to favor Trump. Win these 3, along with the locks and near locks that are red, Texas, the Midwest, etc. While Harris has got to win the blues, California, New York, which she is going to do, and then have a mixture here along with a win back. So there's more work to do for Harris than Trump, statistically speaking. That's what it looks like.
And so now it's time for our valuetainment call. This is the culmination of all of the data we just showed you, plus our own aggregate to bring you our call just 4 weeks from the election. So with a month to go, Tom, what are we seeing?
We are not materially changed from last week, although we're concerned about voter
Boom. All right then. So, what you gotta say about this map, Key? Because
Well,
look like Trump is kind of about to dub it. We're looking at 281.20. Now this is them putting all their polls together and be like, all right, well, this is what everything's reading so far. And yeah, it kind of seems like she just gave up the South, like New Mexico. I don't know
it's
how.
still pretty early. We're about 4 weeks out, as Tom said. But
Yeah. So
this map right here infers is clearly Trump is up in a lot of
yeah,
states. A lot of the battleground states, they're either leaning towards him or completely red.
yeah, and let's be
I think
real.
that's a good sign for Trump.
And they can't even give Michigan completely to Kamala, nor can they give Wisconsin.
What that indicates, though, is the observation that me and you have clearly made is this: that Kamala hasn't been able to swing anybody. She hasn't really been able to buy anybody's vote. Like,
Yeah, these
her
skeptics
coming out with more interviews, her doing more talking engagements hasn't really swung anybody. In fact, it's actually kind of showed that exactly as we thought. Like, hold on, old girl ain't got no original thoughts. Like, she's saying what she's saying now, what she was saying a month or two ago. Like, nothing new, nothing original, word salad.
And just like the polls revealed during the debate, she has been unable to swing any independent voters.
Very true.
And
Very
this
true.
shows.
And that's what she would have needed in order to win the election. She still needs to make that the priority of her campaign, is to swing some of these people who are undecided, some of these moderates, and maybe even some people who are just, I'm kind of just voting Trump just because I don't know. As Kamala hasn't said too much.
Yeah.
She still needs to. I'm just pure strategy, devil's advocate. That should be her campaign's her campaign's pivotal point, or her campaign's focal point, I should say. Her advisors should be talking to her and coaching her on swinging some of these moderates and getting some of those people who are. And they're not really MAGA, they're not really Trump lovers, but they're just going in that direction because they feel like Trump has said more. Let's get some of those people over here.
But people forget the main key to swing over these independent voters is to sit in these hot seat interviews.
Yeah, facts. And she hasn't done so. I mean, she did the 60 Minutes. She did the what other hot button interview? Because she said she's done.
Nothing else. That's it. I was 60 Minutes. The only one that really, I don't know.
They gave her a little pushback. Maybe maybe that MSNBC a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe true. That. But beyond that, I mean, she's kind of been handheld and cakewalked through this mug. Shout out Dark Side Link coming in with 10. Would love to get on with y'all sometime and talk about this where I don't have to be censored by the tube and mention things that I haven't been able to. That isn't really that bad, man. We're reworking some stuff in the background. We're trying to get on a call-in show with you guys. We want to make it to where as many people can get in. And yes, we want to kind of get in to where it can low-key be uncensored, because I know a lot of folks got a lot of shit they want to say, and we want to hear it.
And it would have to be on Rumble. So make sure to follow us on Rumble, too. So if we can get more people on Rumble, because the call-in show would just be flawlessly. It'd just be easier to run on Rumble, especially if y'all really want to say what y'all really want to say.
Say what y'all want, uncensored, candid. You ain't got to worry about.
You ain't got to say words like grape, essay, and all that. You can get crazy with it.
You ain't got to worry about our channel getting flagged or nothing for another crazy shit y'all want to say. And we want to hear it. We don't want to censor y'all, and we're working on that in the background. So stay tuned to the community posts, and as always, join the membership program for priority on those call-in shows.
Appreciate y'all.
Suppressed by weather and displacement in their own towns. And so North Carolina and Georgia, we still see as leaning Trump, as Pennsylvania. With those three, it would be 270, exactly what's needed to win. And our probability of that is actually higher, around 82%. We've added 11 here for Arizona, making it 281.
All right.
Now, many people are talking about, well, what about a national mandate? Well, I'll give you that. If Wisconsin and Nevada
still working on some
were to
stuff,
go,
man.
that's
Stay tuned
another
for
16,
sure. We're gonna put
and
that
that would be
together real soon for y'all.
297, nearly 300. And that's when you start talking about national mandates and probably carrying down ballot candidates with you. But for right now, what do we see? 270, 82%, 281 with Arizona, 80%, virtually unchanged from last week. But we're watching carefully to see if there's going to be any bounce that have come out of the VP debate that was a week ago. Those polls are being taken and analyzed right at this hour. Many of you have asked, where do we get our news? We get our news from vtnews.ai.
All right, before they flex their vtnews.ai, I might have to partake in my goddamn self. But let me see here. Was there anything else that, whoops. Because we still got a lot on the map here. But, oh, yes. This was sent in by a supporter, James Foley. So pretty much watch Trump roller expose the entire Democrat Congress.
Say this clearly. We have
Appreciate the
reason to
support in the
believe
chat.
the House managers manipulated evidence and selectively edited footage. If they did, and this were a court of law, they would face sanctions from the judge. I don't raise this issue lightly. Rather, it is a product of what we have found in just the limited time we have had since we first saw the evidence here with you this week. We have reason to believe that the House managers created false representations of tweets, and the lack of due process means there was no opportunity to review or verify the accuracy. Consider these facts. The House managers, proud of their work on the snap impeachment, staged numerous photo shoots of their preparations. In one of those, Manager Raskin is seen here at his desk reviewing two tweets side by side. The image on his screen claims to show that President Trump had retweeted one of those tweets. Now, members of the Senate, let's look closely at this screen, because obviously Manager Raskin considered it important enough that he invited the New York Times to watch him watching it. Now, what's wrong with this image?
Damn.
Actually,
What's up, DMW?
there are three things very wrong with it. Look at the date on the very bottom of the screen on Manager Raskin's computer screen when we zoom into the picture.
I mean,
The date that appears is January 3rd, 2020, not 2021. Why is that date wrong? Because this is not a real screenshot that he's working with. This is a recreation of a tweet.
Yeah, for sure.
And you got the date wrong when you manufactured this graphic.
damn.
You did not disclose that this is a manufactured graphic and not a real screenshot of a tweet. Now, to be fair, the House managers caught this error before showing the image on the Senate floor. So you never saw it when it was presented to you.
Damn. I mean,
But that's not all. They didn't fix this one. Look at the blue check mark next to the Twitter username of the account retweeted by the president. It indicates that this is a verified account, given the blue check by Twitter to indicate it is run by a public figure. The problem? The user's real account is not verified and has no blue check mark, as you can see. Were you trying to make her account seem more significant, or were you just sloppy? If we had due process of law in this case, we would know the truth. But that's not all that's wrong with this one tweet. House Manager Swalwell showed you this tweet this week, and he emphasized that this tweet reflected a call to arms. He told you repeatedly that this was a promise to call in the cavalry for January 6th. He expressly led you to believe that President Trump's supporter believed that the president wanted armed supporters at the January 6th speech, paramilitary groups, the cavalry, ready for physical combat. The problem is, the actual text is exactly the opposite. The tweeter promised to bring the Calvary, a public display of Christ's crucifixion, a central symbol of her Christian faith, with her to the president's speech, a symbol of faith, love, and peace.
yeah.
They just never want to seem to read the text
Yeah, I did
and
see
believe
that,
what the text
actually.
means. You'll see this reported in the media last evening.
Interesting
also.
stream.
Words matter, they told you. But they selectively edited the president's words over and over again. They manipulated video, time-shifting clips, and made it appear the president's words were playing to a crowd when they weren't. Let's take a look.
After this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down to the Capitol. You want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol. And we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. Lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
And we are going to walk down to the Capitol. They showed you that part. Why are we walking to the Capitol?
Too much now.
Well, they cut that off.
He says that the N word
To
was a
cheer
hard
on
R
some
too
members
much.
of Congress and not
He
others,
does. I don't
peacefully
know what his angle
and
is with that.
patriotically. The Supreme Court ruled in Brandenburg that there's a very clear standard for incitement. In short, to paraphrase, whether the
I
speech
haven't
was
seen
intended to
that
provoke imminent lawless
YouTuber.
action, and was it likely to do so. Go to the Capitol and cheer on some members of Congress, but not others. They know it doesn't meet the standard for incitement, so they edited it down. We heard a lot this week about fight like hell, but they cut off the video before they showed you the president's optimistic, patriotic words that followed immediately after.
We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Our exciting adventures and boldest endeavors have not yet begun. My fellow Americans, for our movement, for our children, and for our beloved country, and I say this despite all that's happened, the best is yet to come.
There's that famous quote, like one of the House managers said, a lie will travel halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to put its shoes on. Well, this lie traveled around the world a few times, made its way into the Biden campaign talking points, and ended up on the Senate floor. The Charlottesville lie. Very fine people on both sides, except that isn't all he said. And they knew it then, and they know it now. Watch this.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them,
On both
a very,
sides.
very important statue, and the
Lefties
renaming of a
and
park
righties.
from Robert E. Lee to another name.
No extremists, no radicals. He's not excusing any of the violence.
Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group.
He's not lying.
Oh God, and shout out to I Am. Over 15 billion with a B has been spent on this election. With what's their I'm sorry.
What's the
What's the return on investment on that to who?
I would say their return on investment is our attention. I mean,
Yeah.
wherever the country decides to head in the next 4 years, we'll all be heavily invested in, and all of our money, all of our hard-earned investments will be geared towards that. So I think the return on investment, the money spent now, will be returned to them, companies,
Actually, bro,
the economy over the next 4 to 8 years.
But you know how much Trump had done spent on his campaign? He done spent like $800 million. You know how much Kamala done spent?
How much?
$2.1 billion. Yeah, like Kamala, she's overspending on this campaign. So there's a lot of people throwing their money into this. So you know what? It does make me wonder. Like, you know what? I wonder how salty they are if they really lose. How much money they put into this when they could have just matched Donald Trump's budget and actually save a lot of money.
And some of that money is just gonna get spent regardless. I know that 15 billion with a B is a large amount. Trust me, I get it. But you gotta think it's the electoral process for the United States of America. Like, it's just a figure ultimately. Like there's really a blank check when it comes to getting a candidate in office.
Yeah, but nah.
They're gonna spend as much as they need to.
But he ain't lying though. About $15 billion, yeah, spent in like support for these people. But the way they're spending it right now, it's a bit conservative. I like to say. I'm like, damn, they ain't go like balls to the wall with it.
Yeah, I mean, shit. Got a month left. We'll see what they do.
You were saying the press has treated white
They
nationalists
do buy a
unfairly?
parade.
There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest and very legally protest because, you know, I don't know if you know.
And I would just say that I'm like, how could we be mad that it was a Project 2025 lie, but they're gonna take out slavery in schools, they're gonna erase our history. I'm like, hold on. How are y'all gonna get mad about that? But then y'all the same people who want to tear down, their statues. Like, aren't y'all doing the same thing you're accusing them of?
It's just the context added when you play the video in full. It's really hard to be mad at the statement he made because it encompasses everybody.
No,
it stands up.
I'm not talking about that. I was talking about the fact that, okay, black people gonna complain that they're trying to erase our history, but black people will literally go out there and deliberately try to erase white people's history and think it's okay. So when you actually a black person like, should these things be torn down? Yeah. Okay. So you pretty much saying it's okay to tear down white history. Well, if a white person say, well, then we should stop teaching slavery. And they gonna throw their hands up going racist. I'm like, well, don't you get what you said is racist as well?
Nah, I agree. I say leave them intact. Leave the statues intact. Appreciate that piece of history for what it is. I'm not a fan of revisionist history. Let's look at it for what it was. Like, it was a different era, and it just was the times. And some of our founding fathers were slave owners. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Let's get past it rather than admonish them for it. We can't change the shit.
Yeah, we just leave each other's history alone. That's it.
They had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. So I only tell you this: there are two sides.
Man,
to
right?
the story.
Man, I missed that black lady on the
what took place
fucking
was a
pancake
horrible
bottle,
moment
man.
for our country, a horrible moment. But there are two sides to the country. Does anybody have a final? Does anybody have? You have an infrastructure.
They told us that was racist.
This might be today the first time the news networks played those full remarks in their context. And how many times have you heard that President Trump has never denounced white supremacists? Now you in America know the truth. Here's another example. One of the House managers made much of the president's supposedly ominous words of, you have to get your people to fight.
To go as far as trying to
But you
disrespect
knew what
their
the president
culture
really
is
meant.
crazy. I'm just like,
He meant that the crowd should demand action from members of Congress and support primary challenges to those who don't
You know what?
do
Depending
what
on where
he
you
considered to
from,
be
we probably
right.
laughing at you.
Support primary challenges, not violent action. I know what he meant because I watched the full video, and so did the House managers. But
That
they
would be
manipulated
Hey,
his
I ain't
words.
gonna
You will see where they stop.
We might have to have you
and to
send
give it
that
a very
over,
different
Christian.
meaning from the meaning it has
gonna lie.
in full context.
and every time I want to talk about good time, I'm just gonna hold it up like, man, good time.
We used to be a proper society.
Watch.
You have to get your people to fight. He told them.
You have to get your people
Yeah, you do.
to fight. And if they don't fight, we have to primary the hell out of the ones that don't fight. You primary them. We're gonna let you know who they are. I can already tell you, frankly.
The people who need to fight are members of Congress. Why did we have to skip the necessary due diligence and due process of law and any legal proceeding should have? It couldn't have been the urgency to get President Trump out of office.
Shout out Dark Side
House
Link
Democrats
sending in
held the
10.
articles until he
History there to teach us of past mistake, past problems, so that way we don't make the same mistakes. But yeah, history always seems to repeat itself. Yes, I concur fully, my friend.
Definitely does.
We are meant to kind of keep this shit intact. Partly the reason I said, but duly the reason that you mentioned is to learn from it, learn from our past mistakes. Leave it there as something not to admonish, but to something as a teaching point. You know, that's why we got history class, so we can hear about all the fucked up shit that was done in the history, and that hopefully we don't continue to purport the shit. So
yeah, and then we end up doing it anyway. I mean, you learn about slavery, and then you go to work, and then you figure out the fiat system, and you're like, oh, damn, I was in it all along. Huh.
God damn it,
They got no
me.
longer president,
they got us.
mooting their case.
Shout out the feds.
Hatred, animosity, division, political gain, and let's face it, for House Democrats, President Trump is the best enemy to attack.
Raskin objected to the certification of President Trump's victory
Beezy.
4 years ago, along with many of his colleagues. You'll remember it was Joe Biden who had to gavel them down.
I have an objection because 10 of the 29 electoral votes cast by Florida were cast by electors not lawfully certified.
I object to the votes from the state of Wisconsin, which should not be legally certified.
Mr. President, I object to the certificate from the state of Georgia on the grounds that the electoral votes were not.
There's no debate.
And I object to the certificate from
Hey,
the state
yo.
of North Carolina.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object.
I object to the certificate from the state of Alabama. The electors were not lawfully certified.
Is it signed by a senator? Not as of yet, Mr. President. In that case, the objection cannot be entertained. The objection cannot be entertained.
Counting
Debate is not in order.
ballot. Even with the
There is
malfunction,
no
87
debate in
voting
order. Is
machines
it
that
signed
were
by a
counting
senator?
African-American
There is no
Rights Act
debate.
and
There is no
Control Act.
debate.
Damn, he don't even listening.
There is no
In the
debate.
early
There is
voting
no
from
debate.
16
There is
to
no
1.
debate.
And the mass
Please come to order. The
my
objection
signature on it
cannot be
seeking a senator,
received.
but the Russian
Section 18.
I mean, at this point, I'm gonna have to steal that from Biden whenever people trolling.
There's
There's
no
no
debate.
debate. There's no debate. There's just no debate. No debate. I'm like, damn. He's like, you're not debating. He's just telling you, no, bro. There's no debate.
Title 3 of the
One more
United
time.
States Code prohibits debate in the joint session.
I do not wish to debate. I wish to ask, is there one United States senator who will join me in this letter
There
of
is no
objection?
debate. There is no debate.
One.
The gentlewoman will suspend.
No debate. I mean,
Damn. All right, Biden.
Say that
yeah, that boy Biden was just out here dismissing people. I'm like, damn. I didn't even. I'm like, oh, no debate, no debate, no debate. Well, no debate. All right, but let's get into Barack, though. You want
But you
to?
ain't black if you don't vote for me.
All right, let's get to Barack, though. We still got a lot, but let's get to Barack. The big guns.
All right, done pulled up the big guns.
It is good. It is good to be back in Pennsylvania.
Get ready for the most eloquent word salad you've ever heard. It's like, nah, it's Obama, man.
Oh man.
Oh, man. Everybody, pull your tissues out, man.
It is good to be back in Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. You know, I love the people of Pittsburgh. I love.
Shout out I am $5. Wonder who take Jacob Rothschild's seat after Fed 26, 2024.
Ooh, damn. You know, that's a good question.
names?
Well, I know who it is gonna be. Well, I know at least I know their ethnicity. I know what their ethnicity is gonna be for sure. Can't tell you the name, but we know the ethnicity or we know the religion they'll be practicing.
Cue cha-ching theme sound.
Oh man,
This is a little bit of
you know what? I can do that.
Just had some of
Oh,
Pamela's
God.
pancakes.
One of them boys.
I first had those like 10, 15 years ago when I was running. And I was all like, I need some of those pancakes this time out. And even though I'm from Chicago, some of you may know, when I was a kid, I was a Steelers fan. And watching the Steelers this season, it seems I'm not the only guy from Chicago who likes being in Pittsburgh. Because so far, Justin Fields is doing pretty good. Now, before we get started, we have
He does look pretty skinny.
here. All right, so I want everybody to be, just settle in. We got some work
But
to do.
age.
Before we get started,
Could be that as well.
I did want to say that we are heartbroken about the loss of life in Florida, North Carolina, states across the Southwest. We are thinking about people, families whose lives have been upended by the storms over the last couple of weeks. I could not be more grateful for the first responders and FEMA professionals who have put themselves in harm's way to try and help.
Shout out Vice Versa coming in with $2. Then it's his first super chat on the live stream, and we appreciate that honor here at Sankey Media. Calm your crats. Try taking their opponent out 2C.
You honor us with your first super chat.
Yeah, they did try and take that man out. Crazy as hell, man. And there's a lot of narratives, a lot of conspiracies about who put in that hit on Trump. But I say it wasn't really an assassination attempt on his life, but an assassination attempt on our democratic process.
Mm.
I'm weak. He said we got Lil Pump, they got Obama, SMH. Yeah.
Having honest, confident.
They do get all the cool celebrities and influencers on the left. I'm not gonna lie.
It makes a difference.
Come on, it's the hedonist party.
And today I'm asking you to vote for some of those leaders, including some folks we need working with your outstanding governor, who you just heard from, Governor Josh Shapiro. We need them in Harrisburg.
Remember that voter die campaign?
So we need you to vote for your next Auditor General, Malcolm Kenyatta. Your next Attorney General, Eugene DePascale. Your next State Treasurer, Eric McClellan. And my buddy, your outstanding United States Senator Bob Casey.
I remember that. Didn't they say he drowned?
In Pennsylvania, there are 3 ways to vote. You can vote early, in person, at the county election office, or at a satellite office. You can also vote by mail. And if you need to figure out how to do that, just go to iwillvote.com PA to find a place to vote early or to request a ballot. And of course, you can vote at your polling place on Election Day, November 5th. But if you're at this rally, let's face it, you're probably voting unless you are 12. So you also have to help your friends and family make a plan to vote. And even if you're 12, you can do that. Talk to your mom and dad and aunts and uncles, because together we have a chance to choose a new generation of leadership in this country and start building a better and stronger and fairer and more hopeful America. Now, you've already heard tonight, this election is going to be tight. Because there are a lot of Americans.
They had to pull the big guns. They looked at the polls. They seen Kamala down 2-3 points, even in some of the left-leaning states. And they said, you know what? Obama, Obama, I ain't gonna lie, we need you to step out in Pennsylvania. He said, God damn, really? It's that bad? He said, yeah.
It's that bad. We down.
Out, Obama.
Actually, bro, but there was literally an Obama glass that they broke. As soon as you broke it, Obama just got that call.
In case of emergency,
he's like,
glass.
He's like, you need me, don't you? Yeah, I know. No. I saw the polls. I saw them polls. Trust me. I know you need me.
They called that red phone in his basement. He said, you know not to call this number unless it's an emergency. He said, oh, it's time. God damn. He said, I have a particular set of skills.
Man, shout out Vice Versa, man. Hillary Clinton had Epstein, unalived in a cell, 2029. I could believe it. I could believe it.
They want to talk about who was on that flight log. I could believe it.
Yeah, because, bro, I would just say if that flight log ever came out, you would see every one of them Clintons locked the hell up. Well, at least, both of them. You see both of them locked the hell up. And maybe a couple of, whatchamacallits, members of the royal family.
These last few years, we had a historic pandemic wreaking havoc on communities and businesses.
Good looks.
Disruptions from the pandemic then caused prices to spike.
Man, boy.
And that put a strain on family budgets. And in many ways, it's felt like the aspirations of working people have taken a back seat to the priorities of the rich and the powerful. So I get it, why people are looking to shake things up. I mean, I am the hopey changey guy. So I understand people feeling frustrated.
What was his supposed gay lover's name?
St. Clair.
What I cannot understand.
Man, don't make us pull that video.
Is why anybody would think that Donald Trump will
I ain't hear about them late nights at Motel 8 with Obama and his supposed gay lover.
Crack-filled nights.
Man.
Real romantic.
There is absolutely no evidence that this man thinks about anybody but himself. I've said it before. Donald Trump is a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago.
Yes, and you're a president who walked in with 6 figures and walked out 50 mil up. I mean,
I do find it
come
funny
on
how
now.
this like repeated narrative of billionaire, almost trying to demonize this man for being successful. And I'm just like, Obama, like, bro, you came in the office with 6 figures and you left with like 10, 11.
Oh God!
What are you talking about,
like,
G?
bro, chill.
Like, you left with a Netflix and a book deal that made you a multi-millionaire.
Impossible inside trading.
Yeah, like, dog, you can't talk about absorbently rich. You're one of them.
Come on now, bro.
Like, bruh.
Obama, what's your net worth?
Like, bruh.
The tweet and all
You can't fool me.
the ranting and the raving about crazy conspiracy theory. Yeah, the 2-hour speeches, word salad, just, you know, it's like Fidel Castro, just on and on. Constant attempts to sell you stuff. Who does that? Selling you gold sneakers and $100,000 watch and.
He's never said that in any of his rallies. That's like,
Bro.
that's like for his fans. That's like for his supporters. Like, he never publicly advertises that. I've never heard him say that. Bro, we watch every Trump rally. You ever heard him mention the watches or the shoes?
Nah.
That's something he's done on the side.
Yeah, low key. But what was I about to say? Yeah, you good?
Just on and on.
Oh yeah, bro.
Word salad.
Man, not the word salad. It's the fact that this man But you have $1 million house. Hey, what do you like, bro? Over multi-million-dollar, bro. I think that bitch is like $100 million worth.
Oh yeah, Obama got that.
Like, bro, look up, bro. Look at Obama's house. That motherfucker is a castle.
Bro, he got them.
What is you talking about? I mean, for real, dog. You can't go out here bashing the rich being one of the rich. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Constant attempts to sell you stuff. Who does that?
You sold us a book.
Yeah. You and your wife sold multiple books.
And most recently, a Trump
Netflix
Bible.
series.
I'm gonna
give you that. I'm gonna give you that $100 Trump watch though.
Donald Trump edition. Got his name right there.
Oh
next to
God!
Matthew and Luke.
And it's a collector's item.
I mean, you could not make this stuff up. If you saw it on Saturday Night Live, you'd say, well, no, that's going too far. No, he's doing that. It's weird. It's crazy. And the reason he does it is because all he cares about is his ego and his money and his status. He's not thinking about you.
Oh my God.
I mean,
That tired ass narrative, bro.
I don't know, Obama. Was you thinking about those kids you were bombing for lower gas prices?
Ooh.
Like, were you thinking about them? I mean, shoot, man. I mean, come on now. Talk about not thinking about people. Like, let's be real, Obama. That's what I'm saying. Like, bro, sit down. Just sit down for a little bit. They should just left you alone. But but he's great at speeches. You see, he got the jokes. He made us chuckle a couple times. Hey, man, that's the magic of Obama.
Go Beezy.
Donald Trump sees
Like him or hate him, great orator.
Means to an end. He wants the middle class to pay the price for another huge tax cut that would mostly help him and his country club buddies.
You're
Doesn't
one of
care
them.
if he costs more women their reproductive freedoms because it won't make a difference in his life. Do not boo. Vote.
Do not boo. Vote. I like it. See?
They can't hear your boos, but they can hear your votes. Most of all, Donald Trump wants us to think that this country is hopelessly divided between us and them, between the quote-unquote real Americans who support him and the outsiders who don't. Because having people divided and angry, he figures boosts his chances of being elected. And he doesn't